Let's see what bullshit we've got today.
Alright, time for another DraftPhysics.com, DebatePhysics.com also. Okay, so another video in this series of how much do I have to pay a physicist, and it's
More than you can possibly afford.
literally really a question. I would like a physicist to tell me how much I have to pay them, okay, like to be interested enough.
No, what you're after is you want to pay a physicist to agree with you, which they're not going to accept, are they? Because you're not correct. They're not going to put their career on the line and say you're correct for what, a measly $100 or something. I don't think so.
To counter my arguments. Now, my arguments are supposed to be so bad that it should be no work at all.
Well, it isn't. That's why they don't bother.
To debunk me or prove me wrong. So it really shouldn't be asking much. But for...
You're asking physicists to do it when amateurs have proved you wrong. So why would a physicist bother?
a physicist with a reputation to uphold, I'm willing to pay.
Exactly, they've got a reputation to uphold the truth, so they're not going to agree to your stupid fucking nonsense for a little bit of money that you probably won't pay anyway.
Whatever it takes, almost. Whatever silly number you can make up. I'm that desperate.
Oh, how about £0.96 million?
Okay, to put a physicist, to make them man up and argue an actual position make an actual statement regarding their confidence in the kinetic energy.
But plenty have already. I mean, the fact that you've even got real physicists to interact with you is amazing in itself. And they all disagreed with you because what you say is incorrect. The simple fact of the matter.
Theory. So again, I could just say the words, 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast.
Yep, you could say the words, and you've seen an experiment that shows that.
Doesn't happen anywhere. It's not the truth. It's not real physics.
I'll link to that one in this video.
And all of these different experiments demonstrate that, yes, there's a flaw in their reasoning and thinking to think...
No, there's a flaw in your understanding.
That the mechanics are that simple. Now, maybe when you get inside of atoms and, you're talking about energy reflecting inside of something...
And going off on some bullshit now.
It might matter how fast something's going. In terms of how often it has an interaction with something.
Just waffling off topic now.
But it certainly doesn't make any difference in these real-world mechanical things.
Oh, but it does, and you've seen it.
Bumping into other things, circumstances. So anyway, so I began this lever stuff with this simple mechanical lever. I just made a floating balance.
Oh, floating? How'd you do that? Anti-gravity?
Okay, and just demonstrated that a 4 mass at 1 distance obeys the law of the lever, and a 1 mass at 4 distance.
Yes, the law of the lever that you don't understand. Because you keep bringing momentum into the law of the lever. There's no momentum in the law of the lever.
Will balance the 4 mass at 1 distance, and it'll oscillate perfectly. And I have explained in previous videos that it's really just the mass of the lever that switches sides, a little bit of mass, and that's why it oscillates very slowly. Nothing's...
You've explained a load of fucking bullshit, yeah.
Moving at any kind of gravitational free fall rate. Everything's moving much slower, but the absolute fact is...
A bit like your fucking brain.
Is that on both sides you have its same momentum. You have a 4 mass moving 1 velocity and a 1 mass moving 4 velocity. And momentum is conserved perfectly, and
it doesn't... Oh, God. Forget it. I can't even be arsed.
It makes rational sense. Now, kinetic energy says there's twice the energy here that there is here. And obviously it couldn't oscillate 100 times if that were true. And there'd be...
But it does oscillate, doesn't it?
no mechanism to create that extra energy on one side and the less energy on the other, momentum. So it clearly demonstrates that, one is right, one is wrong, I would argue.
God.
Another experiment that's been done a couple of times was creating a launcher, what could be called a lever launcher with a spring.
Catapult or trebuchet.
And the basic idea is you're going to create the same motion in the lever, so it's going to consume out of...
No, that's your idea. And yes, you can create the same motion, but it requires more energy.
The experiment the same amount of energy, so you can negate the weight of the lever and the energy it consumes.
Yeah, I showed you an experiment where the lever was... the lowest mass was 16 times heavier than the lever, and the largest mass was 32 times heavier than the lever itself. So we could probably say we could negate the mass of the lever in that experiment. You know, the one you've seen, which you talked absolute bullshit about.
Because the lever is going to move identically to push a 2 mass, okay, at 1 velocity, and presumably a 1 mass at 2 velocity. Now,
and there you go, you make a presumption that isn't correct.
The frame rates came out pretty close to that, within the margin of error.
Which experiment are you citing here?
Obviously, this could have been a 20, and this could have been a 10, fairly easy. And
right. So 11, 19, right. So you're quoting an experiment that obviously you're not going to show, which was Stephen Bruff's experiment, and that was an amateur experiment. You know, like the ones I do, and Dispar does, and Ian does, and Steve did loads more. But for some reason, this amateur experiment is absolutely perfect, so much so that you can quote it and cite it as evidence.
But it's way short of what they claim to be the kinetic energy result, the prediction of kinetic energy, which is 1.4. So the numbers aren't anywhere near the...
But you know, in that experiment that you're not going to show, because you know there was a flaw in it. And now you're citing this as evidence and proof when you know there's a flaw in that experiment that you spotted. So you're full of shit again. You're just lying and cherry picking as you do. Other experiments have been shown to you time and time again where the prediction comes out almost perfectly.
Kinetic energy being correct, so it's pretty good evidence. And the fact that these experiments haven't been done by conventional physics, so physics hasn't...
Of course they've been done
this. Well, it sort of has done that one anyway, but it hasn't done anything like this. And so...
No, of course they haven't. They've never done anything like that. I just think they fucking understood this stuff in the first place, you fucking moron.
This basic idea of you put a 2 mass in with a velocity, and their claim is, this is what Steve Mould claimed in his million-view video, that all...
So, not unsurprisingly, you're misquoting somebody else now, because no, that isn't what he said in his video. He was using an applied constant force, wasn't he? Not banging some fucking mass into one end of a lever and seeing what comes out the other side. So again, no, not what he said at all.
You get back out as a 1 mass going 1.4. Now, obviously this experiment contradicts that, but...
Which experiment? Again, you're being very vague here. We know it's Steve's experiment that had a flaw in it. And like I say, fucking, you don't accept any other experiments, amateur or professional. Yeah, this one that is an amateur experiment with a flaw in, now it's being cited as brilliant evidence. Is that not just a bit fucking hypocritical?
Logic also contradicts it, because it doesn't conserve momentum then. So if you put, 1 momentum in, 2 momentums...
It conserves energy.
in, and we get 1.4 momentums out, something's wrong somewhere. And clearly
yes, in your understanding and way of thinking. I mean, in the experiment, I'll link to that as well in this video. When it comes to these levers and moving masses, pushing them, sliding them, rolling them, whatever, the simple fact is, with all these lever experiments, you're ignoring a physical phenomena of the moment of rotational inertia. You don't accept that as being a real thing. I showed you a perfectly good demonstration where you can actually see the moment, and you just fucking, what did you call it? It's static friction. That's what you said. That was your answer to it. Your get out of jail free card. In that experiment, I'm using a 1 kilo and half a kilo. Static friction. To, before we get it in motion, we have to apply some force to get it in motion. We have to overcome the static friction. Obviously, there's a coefficient of the material. Oh, right.
formula kind of dictates.
We've got the coefficient of the two materials sliding across each other. So it would be the normal force, which would be its opposite to its mass times gravitation, so its weight. So you've got the normal force pushing back up. You times that by, you've got the coefficient times the normal force, and that will give you the amount of static friction, the force you're going to need to overcome it to get it in motion. So in my experiment, I showed that half the mass, so we would literally have half the static friction. On the lever, it's twice the distance out, so proportionally we would have half the force where the 2 mass was at the 1 position. So we have 2.2 newtons of force there. We go down to twice as far out on the lever, we put the half mass on, and we've got 1.1 units of force. So the static friction is exactly the same. The coefficient of the material is exactly the same, yet it didn't move. So there's enough force there to overcome the static friction, but it doesn't move because it has a higher moment of rotational inertia. And this is what you don't understand. When all these lever experiments, you have to account for that. When you move something further out on a lever, you incur a higher moment of rotational inertia, and therefore it's harder to move. So all this, it will go twice as fast, will never happen. You'd have to put 1/4 of the mass at twice the distance out.
So there's been some argument about springs and how springs store energy. Physicists...
No, you come up with some fucking arguments about springs because they prove you wrong.
Actually arguing that you need 4 compressions of a spring, or 4 springs compressed, to move something twice as fast. And of course, I don't think that's anyone's life experience.
Anyone's life experience, yeah. I remember the last time I tried to start my car with 4 fucking springs attached to the back of it. I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? Do the experiment. It doesn't matter what your life experience tells you. Do the fucking experiment.
But again, we don't have these tests. We can't just find a physics...
Oh, because, yeah, nobody can buy fucking 4 springs and test it, can they? Especially not you fucking bone-idle cunt.
Video that tests, what you really do get. And the fact is that springs do lose a little bit of their effectiveness, their efficiency, with velocity. So the faster you push something with a spring,
Oh, God, I tell you what, you should put this fucking argument on a fucking spring and keep pushing it, because that's all you can keep on about.
Less of the spring's energy will actually go into the object. But anyway, it's still nothing like 1.4. It's something like 1.8. Okay, now...
And again, show it to be 1.8. Break the laws of physics. We all want to see it. Fucking, it'd be class.
1.4. So it's pretty clear demonstration. So Steve Mould made this argument, which can't be reversed. That is, if
But he didn't make that argument, did he?
You take a one mass going 1.4 the velocity, you're certainly not going to get a two mass going one velocity. I think, again, everybody's life experience says you can't take less momentum.
And again, what life experience? Yeah, I can remember when I used to drop masses onto fucking lever when I was a child growing up. One of my favourite fucking pastimes. The fuck are you talking about?
And make more momentum. Because effectively, momentum does do work in the real world. It does crush cars. It does all kinds of things in the real world. And you can't make free momentum.
Correct. You can't make free momentum like you can't make free energy. If you understood that, you might get a little bit further on in your understanding.
And it's just a fact. All right. So I'll pause there and see if I have anything else I need to add.
What, some more fucking bull crap?
Alright, so I will post a pinned comment where I'll put the link to this playlist that at current...
Oh, yeah, well, that's what we want to see. All the bullshit in one place.
It has 12 videos in it where I'm quite desperate to get a physicist to respond.
Again, you're not desperate to get a physicist to respond. You're desperate for a physicist to agree with you. And it ain't going to happen because, newsflash, you're wrong. You misunderstand practically everything. And this is why you think everything's wrong, because you don't understand it.
And I'll also put a link to a Google search result that should pull up all of the lever paradox videos. That was what Steve Mould titled his video. And the fact...
But the whole point of the video was there isn't a paradox. That was the irony of the title.
You'll see is that nobody, just about, made any responses, and the only two besides...
Yeah, because everybody understood it, apart from you.
Besides me, were by people defending this nonsense, frankly. This thing...
Oh, God, but it's not about defending it, is it? I mean, people probably, maybe, were a bit sceptical and tested it and went, do you know what? He's right. That's what really happens. You haven't tested it, have you?
It doesn't happen. And the rest are, the 90 videos I made, or whatever the number was.
Yeah, it was an incredibly ridiculous number of repetition videos on the same subject. It's just showing you complete lack of understanding. Like I say, when you do these lever experiments, as you call it, like I say, it's a trebuchet or catapult, but when you do these experiments, there is the fact of the moment of rotational inertia. It's a real thing. You don't accept that, therefore you can't better your understanding. Like I say, I've said before, just take a simple T-bar, hold it out, put a mass on it close to the pivot point, put the same mass further out. You can feel the turning force. It's that simple. It's a real thing.
And just clearly demonstrate physics needs to do these experiments and tease the truth out.
The truth was teased out hundreds of years ago. You are literally living... Well, no, you're not even living in the past. Well, maybe, yeah, caveman times.
Obviously, in this experiment, the lever will consume some of the energy. So you can have an expectation that even if you put a two mass going one velocity on one side and you have a two mass at the same distance on the other side, that you'll lose a little bit to whatever the weight is of your lever. But nothing like 1.4. No chance. And again, their argument is that if I double this weight, I'm going to get 1.7.
I don't even know what you're arguing here. That's just pure vagueness. I won't even go there with that.
It's just kinetic energy, the squared velocity just means that term just destroys any capacity for there to be any sensible law of the lever. You know, the law of the lever.
But what is the law of the lever? State it. State what you actually think the law of the lever is. Because you keep saying it, but you don't state what the law of the lever is. That I would be interested to hear.
2,000 years old, and they're saying it doesn't really work. Now, pulleys work.
It works perfectly.
They'll pretty much claim, but that's also part of this argument, is the contention that somehow pulleys do work, but somehow levers don't. And both of them...
Again, with pulleys, you can make it conserve momentum. Levers, you could make conserve momentum. You know, you could put up a one mass that side and one mass that side at the same distance and say, oh, look, it conserves momentum. Same with pulleys.
Have to do the same thing. They both have to follow the same rule. So it's either the 1.4 rule or the 2.0 rule, but there is no switching rules. You can't have a different rule for a pulley and then a different rule for a lever, because it's all basically making the same argument. Twice the velocity is what you're getting for cutting the mass in half. And that kinetic energy is a fable.
So you say. But you've seen plenty of evidence where you know it's not.
That's enough. Till the next time and such.
If you're going to argue levers, understand how one works. You know, a lever launch, you keep calling it a lever launcher, like I say, it's a catapult, it's a trebuchet. It listens to a different equation. But you wouldn't understand that. Oh, that's it for today. That's just another load of bullshit, as usual. Another load of misunderstandings and nonsense. Good luck getting a physicist. Jeez.